Okay, and welcome back to EV Car Share. I'm midway through my day, heading back home. Well, midway through my day, towards the end of my day, heading back home. So job done in St Helens. I'm heading back home via Sheffield. Going to do across the Peak District and then down the A1 this time instead of going across Rutland and up the M6. So that's my choice. I'm going to stop at the Ionity charge points at Sheffield, give them a try. Not been there before, so that'll be interesting. And yeah, that's about it really. That's what's going to happen. So currently on 50% battery, 132 miles predicted. I'm going to need a bit more than that to get home. So that's why I'm going to be stopping at the Ionity. It's not going to be very long. I only need a little top up. So maybe 5-10 minutes or something like that, and that should be enough. So that is the plan. Let's get going. So we're on our way. This is the M62, heading eastbound away from Liverpool. So I have programmed my home as destination and my Ionity stop as a charge point, as a tour point in the Kia sat nav. So that should do the preconditioning on approach. I did have a little bit of tricky difficulty with the programming of that. It initially wanted to add the Ionity location as a tour point that's not charging, so just as just going there sort of thing rather than charging there. What I did instead was I searched for that separately, then added it to my favourite charge points, and then I found it's quite easy to go back, start my route again, and then I was able to add that as a charging tour point because it's in my favourites list. So if you're struggling with the Kia sat nav in that respect, that's a good tip. Maybe I'll do a little video on that separately. Okay, so quick update. Looks like the sat nav wanted to take me through the middle of Manchester, and as I approached the M60 junction, I assumed it was wanting to take me around the south side of Manchester, which I expected. So I slip roaded. Is slip road a verb? Can you slip roaded? Anyway, I took the slip road for M60 South and went that way. When I then realised that that wasn't the way the sat nav was actually intending me to go, I wasn't following it, I was assuming. But as it happens, yeah, made no difference really to the time. Actually slightly quicker this way by a few minutes, and it's now predicting I'll arrive with 19% instead of 22%. So it clearly thinks because it's further way around, I'm going to get to the Ionity charge point with fewer percentages, or a lower percentage, shall I say, and it'll be slightly quicker because it's a faster road. So it's a faster road, further round, so I'll get there slightly earlier but with less power, which is fine. It's only a couple of percent here and there, and a few miles here and there, and a few minutes here and there, so it didn't really matter either way. But just wanted to add an update because it's not quite as I said it was going to be. Okay, so just coming up to my exit from the M60, which is the ring that goes around Manchester. So just like London has the M25 circling around it, so we have the M60 circling around Manchester. And this is my exit here, junction 24, because I'm going to be heading towards Sheffield. And of course, what trip would be complete in the UK these days without a little bit of roadworks? So we have some roadworks, a bit of a slowdown. Passing here a Shell petrol station with the Greggs, I believe. Yep, you can see them now. There are some charge points here, I think, yeah, they're not Shell Recharge, they are MFG. So they are now open. Okay, so these are now open if you want to use them. So 150 kilowatt there, fairly rapid. So I call those fairly rapids. But there's nothing here. I mean, it's just there is the Greggs, but apart from that, there's a shop. So you wouldn't want to. It's okay for a little top up, but you wouldn't want to be charging for too long here. Oh, there's another 4, so there's 8. So yeah, looks like there are 8 charge points there. There are 2 people plugged in. Okay, and we're free of that little hold up and into the Peak District. You can see the rolling hills ahead. You may not officially be in the Peak District yet, but you can still see all the rolling hills ahead and the traditional terrace houses, rows of terrace houses. This is very typical for this area of the UK. I feel like a tour guide now. On my sat nav, I can view the number of charge points available at the charge stop that I have programmed in. So my Ionity stations at Sheffield. At the moment, it's showing 7 of 9 available. So if anybody's into Star Trek, they'll know 7 of 9, I'm sure. Bizarre, obscure reference there for those who aren't. So we've got 7 charge points available out of 9 that are there, and I will be there in 30 miles time, which will be just under an hour from here going this route, and the car still thinks I will arrive there with 21% battery. Preconditioning hasn't started yet. The car is still happy for me to carry on driving without it preconditioning the battery. Clearly it thinks it doesn't need that long to warm up the battery. Pity the view isn't quite as nice with the slightly murky cloud. It's been a nice, warm, bright, sunny day. Not necessarily warm. It's been a nice, bright, sunny day, clear skies. This would be a much nicer view for you to take in. It's still good fun as a driver. Okay, and here's where we join the M1. So at this roundabout, the left left turn off this roundabout, first exit is for the M1 South. So I have cut across the country and now I'm going to head down on the M1 as far as the A57, I think I'll use to cut across near Worksop, and then carry on down the A1. So that'll be my route from here, southbound. But first of all, I need to find this charge stop just off the M1 at the Ionity charge points. If I take a look at the car information, it is telling me that there are still 7 charge points available. Oh, 6 now. Okay, it's getting slightly busier. So there's now 6 charge points available, and I am 6 miles away. Okay, so this is junction 34 of the M1. I'm heading southbound. Just coming off here, this is the Meadowhall junction and the junction for Sheffield Arena. So this is a big leisure sort of area, shopping and leisure and concerts and things like that. Restaurants, no doubt. They all go hand in hand. And down here there are some Ionity charge points. 9 according to my sat nav. So we'll be in the right hand lane heading in towards Sheffield. It is the 4th exit maybe. And I didn't make it through the lights. So my battery currently is at 20%. The battery heater is still heating away. My minimum temperature in the battery is 19 now, maximum 28. So I think that's quite typical. It will heat until the minimum gets above 20. Then it'll turn the heater off. The heater's been doing 4.2 kilowatts of power. Right, okay, so we are at the charge points, going to charge on the Ionity network. I have a free subscription for a few months, so that's why I'm using Ionity a lot now. The battery heater has heated the coolant heated the battery. Minimum temperature is now 21, maximum temperature is 28. So I'm going to pop out, plug in. So on the screen, difficult to get the camera in, on this screen you can see with the preconditioned battery we're up at 189 kilowatts straight away, and it's going to be 15 minutes to 80% is what's being suggested there. Of course I'm not going to 80%, I'm only going up to 50%. I've got 100 miles ish to come to get home, so 50% should be sufficient. So now pulling 227 kilowatts from the charge point, and we're up to 35%, and that's 4 minutes 16 seconds elapsed. So we're up at 230 kilowatts at 45%. I just have a look on my CarPlay dashboard. You see the minimum battery temperature is now 29 and the maximum battery temperature is now 35. So we are not throttling back at a maximum of 35. We are fine there. I think the full speed was reached when we got above 25 for the minimum. So that's the charging done. Car says we have 138 miles in the battery at 50%. Sat nav says we have 93.6 miles to go. We should get home at 6:35 p.m, which is fine. I've been here 6-7 minutes, I think it said I'd charged for. So I think that's all good. So let's get on our way. So into the traffic, heading now out towards the M1 to head southbound. In the Ionity charge point's now on my left, and you can see on the right there is a McDonald's. So if you were staying for longer, as well as having the Starbucks, you've also got the McDonald's available. And there is a Pizza Hut further up. Depends how fast your car can charge. The EV6 preconditioned, especially if you're only charging up to 50-60%, charges extremely rapidly. So you won't really have time to cross the road and go to McDonald's or anything like that. But if you have a slower charging car, then obviously you will have time for that sort of thing. I would say for kind of reviewing the Ionity points, there's a Greggs as well. So Greggs, if you fancy Greggs, we all fancy Greggs, of course we do. There's a general review of the Ionity points there. Nice and easy to park into. Cables, not a problem. No problem getting your car in at the right angle. Bays are nice and open, plenty of amenities around. The only problem for me is ease of access from the M1. It's not really a quick off the road charge and back on the road. So in that respect, could be better. So getting out of Sheffield onto the M1 again, out of the Meadowhall area. Seems to be quicker getting back out, so maybe there's a better route in than what I took. I think SatNav tried to take me off the junction early and then back on the junction late, tried to smooth out smooth out the curve that I took into Sheffield. If that makes sense to you, it makes sense in my mind. But now we're back out, we're on the M1 and making progress. Then when the A57 comes, I'll be exiting the A57 to Worksop and cutting through past Worksop. Looks like there's a lane out for roadworks on the left, so had to pull into the right here, thank you to the car behind me. Just for a point of reference, the battery currently 29 degrees minimum, 40 degrees on the maximum. So charging up to 50% at that sort of rapid speed did warm the battery up at the maximum up to 40 degrees. And presumably then after 50-60% it would have throttled back, both because the state of charge was high, it needs to throttle back, but potentially also because the warmest parts of the battery would be getting quite warm. Obviously disconnecting as I did at 50%, avoided both of those situations. Of course, I didn't actually disconnect in order to avoid those situations. I disconnected because I have plenty of energy to get me home, which really is the key. And the sat nav is now telling me I will get home with 8% battery remaining, which is sufficient. It's not a problem. However, I do think that with the sat nav being in its usual pessimistic mood, I will probably get back with more remaining than 8%. I would expect it to be over 10%, maybe 12%, something like that. Right, so I'm on the A1 heading southbound now, near to Newark. Seems that the sat nav had different ideas. I was expecting we'd go along the A57 past Worksop all the way to the A1, but around Worksop it decided that the route via Ollerton and then onwards to Newark on the back roads was chosen. I think maybe because it was a shorter route rather than the faster route, and I had the sat nav set to short, well, economic route I think it calls it, so that's why it probably took me that way. But fair enough, I followed its viewpoint, I followed its opinion, I followed its choice, whichever one you want to apply. And so we went via Ollerton and Newark and are now on the A1 heading south. Currently have 35% remaining in the battery. I've been going 42 miles since the fill up at Sheffield at Ionity, 1 hour 12 minutes, and it's an average of 4 miles per kilowatt hour. The 35%, the car thinks I will get 91 miles from that. And I have 51 miles to go. So I have 40 miles to spare as a buffer. I didn't think he was going quite that slow. So yeah, no problem in that respect. And the car thinks I will get back with 8% remaining at the moment, so that's fine as well. And the rest of the journey is just straight down the A1. It has been a longer route, definitely, so probably half an hour longer coming across the Peak District. I wouldn't recommend taking this route at kind of rush hour. I was passing Manchester a little bit before rush hour, and I think coming around Manchester and then onto the Woodhead Pass would get rather congested around rush hour, so I wouldn't take that route later on in the evening. It's made a change, and certainly the route over the top of the Peak District is quite impressive. It's good to get the scenery. It's nice to travel a different route when you've been doing the same journey several times over the last few months or weeks. Nice to try something different when you get the opportunity. So I'm glad I took that route. At the moment now it's A1 the rest of the way, so I will get back to driving. Okay, so almost home. I've just pulled up so I can finish off the video. I don't want to do it at home. So it is 6:45 p.m. I'm just a few miles away from home. Car has 18% battery left. It is predicting I will be home with 15%. So when I said that I expected to get back with 12%, even though the car was saying like 8%, I was pessimistic. So got back with, well, I haven't got back yet, but we'll get back with 15%, which is great. So I have, just as I say, 5 miles left to go. Done 87 miles since I left Sheffield. So it's around 150, just over 150 overall doing that route from St Helens past Manchester, Sheffield and down the A1. Actually it was down via Ollerton, kind of works up Ollerton through a bit there as well. Took a while longer. So the thing you have to allow for if you're going over the Peak District is obviously it's going to be a longer time. It wasn't longer distance, but it's going to be a longer time because of those types of roads. It's very windy up and over the hills, but it is enjoyable and certainly worth doing once in a while just to kind of see the scenery and so on. So all was good in that respect. Car has done 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency since leaving those Ionity charge points. That's taken me 2 hours. I've just ticked over from 1:59 to 2 hours. All going well. So my journey overall from home out to St Helens without charging, and then from St Helens back to home with just a small 6-7 minute charge around Sheffield on the Ionity chargers, has been all good. My charging up to 50% rather than any higher was sufficient. Could have been even less. I could have charged to kind of 40-45% and got going, but 50% was fine. It gives me that little buffer that I like to have. In this case, as I say, I'll be getting home with 15%, so that's a good buffer as well. So thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope some of it has been helpful to you in some way, either in choosing an EV6 or choosing an electric vehicle in general. If it has, then great. If you have any comments, any thoughts, anything you would like to add, then please add them in the comments down below. If you want to see more of these videos, then subscribe, because then you'll get them more readily in your feed. If you've liked this particular video, then obviously give it a like. Subscribing really helps the channel, by the way, so if you want to see it continue, then subscribing is definitely a way to do that. So that's the prime one. That's the one you definitely have to go for if you're going to do any of those things. And either way, I will speak to you next time. So thank you for watching and speak to you next time.